I am absolutely blown away by what you can make with Dreams. Dreams is published as a PlayStation game, but it's so much more than that. This is a powerhouse of creative tools that lets you sculpt, animate, compose, and pretty much anything you can imagine. You can do everything from spinning clay on a lathe to designing sound with a granular synthesizer. What some people are making with Dreams is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, everything on your screen right now is made entirely from scratch by somebody using Dreams with a controller. And it's very intuitive when you use this, but if you go and buy a PlayStation camera and a pair of Move controllers, well, now you can work with both hands in three-dimensional space.
All sculptures and paintings in Dreams are made up of flex, and style mode is where we manipulate them.
So here's a scene I made. This took me about an hour, I would say. I didn't have anything in mind. I just sort of sat down and started playing around. And I made this by taking a hexagon, extruding it, and hollowing it out using a cone, spinning around. And then I added some random details, I added some lights and some fog, and then I made these little guys in a separate project just using some basic shapes. Here's a similar situation, sort of a cave on an alien planet kind of thing. It's just a big cone with a hole cut near the top, and there's a bunch of clay smeared around on the inside. Again, some light, some fog, and some color grading to polish things off. I was watching the Muppet movie one day, and it got me thinking, can I sculpt Kermit? So here he is. I never got around to finishing this because it was just taking me so much time. And then I thought, how can I make like a Jim Henson style puppet that the player can control using the gyros in their controller? So that's what this little guy turned out to be. And you can see here I had to wire up quite a lot of circuitry logic to make it all work. Here's a little space bunny fella. I wanted to see if I could make his ears bounce in relation to his movement, and sure enough I could. Dreams also has a pretty robust toolkit for making music and designing sound, and then positioning that sound in space. You even have a whole surround sound channel mixer in here. You can also rig some very sophisticated logic circuits, the idea being that you turn your artwork into a movie or a game. So anything you create or do can be connected in some way to a button on your controller, or you can govern them using maths or logic or programming. So look, if you want to make your own game or your own animation or even just the artwork for your next album maybe, or perhaps the music on the album itself, then I'm not exaggerating when I say Dreams has everything you need. If you open up the Dreamiverse, this is where everyone submits their creations, and it's impressive, if not a bit scary, what some people are making. But this is where I start questioning and criticizing, because for a while, yes, the novelty of creating from your couch with a controller on your TV is pretty sweet. That is until you start to realize a few things. Firstly, you realize that this isn't actually a game and that you're sinking your time, a lot of your time, into a creative toolkit. So then you start noticing the hours rolling by, which they will, I guarantee you. And finally you ask yourself, what am I actually creating? Where is it going? Can I export my creation? Can I sell it? Can I publish it? Can I, what is all of my hard work actually being distilled into? I've tinkered with this now for many, many hours, and I think the problem with Dreams comes down to two things. One, it assumes that gamers want to invest 100 hours into making a game. And two, you cannot compile or export or sell what you create. Because this is a PlayStation game, the depth and scope of what you can do is infinitely bigger than the box you have to do it in. You can upload your work to the Dreamiverse, but that means your friends and followers all need three things. They need a PlayStation, they need a copy of Dreams, and they need to go wading through the Dreamiverse where you are inundated with other people's content. Most of which is basically demos. What everyone ends up making with Dreams is like more of a proof of concept than a finished product. Something that lasts you maybe 5 to 10 minutes at best. Because it turns out that making stuff is actually a lot of hard work, and doing all of that work on a platform that's not designed for productivity is a questionable investment of your time and energy. It really hurts me to admit that because I am in love with Dreams. I think it's absolutely brilliant, but it is a bit like running a 5-star pizzeria. And you've got to deliver your pizza through a straw. This is a PlayStation, yeah? It's not an iPad Pro. It's not a Mac or a PC. When I look at the options I have for sharing content from my PlayStation, I'm underwhelmed, to say the least. Look, Dreams is incredibly powerful. Like, I imagine all the kids getting inspired and empowered and educated by this. But with a pair of Move controllers, this is a formidable armory for a professional artist who wants to escape the formality of their desk or their studio. So from that point of view, Dreams actually starts bridging a gap that I didn't know was there. But because of the limitations of the platform it's on, your input to output ratio probably won't be very good. Making a game that you want to play and share takes an enormous amount of time. Think about how many hats you've got to wear. You're making character models, you're doing bone systems, you're doing animations, props, environments and cutscenes, and then you've got to program the logic to drive it all. That is not a hobby on the weekend. That's a day job. And yes, you can do all of this using Dreams, but you probably won't, because dumping 20 or 50 or 100 hours into making something that you can't really take anywhere is kind of hard to justify. And look, that's got nothing to do with the tools or the workflows on offer here. The most amazing thing about Dreams is that it doesn't limit you. I actually think it's very rare you find something that is this easy and powerful at the same time. What you can do with Dreams is mind-blowing. You can get very, very serious about making a movie or a game with this. But when you reach that level of commitment, there are much better tools and solutions out there, like Blender for Mac and PC. Not only is it free, it's some of the best 3D software in the world. And if you want to make games, then you can download Unreal or you can get Unity. And sure, you're still going to spend a stupid amount of time learning and developing, but you'll have sharper tools, won't you? And when it comes to compiling and exporting and distilling and selling and publishing your work, well, the sky's going to be the limit. Just imagine for a second that Dreams wasn't a PlayStation game. Like, let's imagine that Dreams was a self-contained box with an HDMI port, like an Apple TV, except instead of a remote, it comes with a pair of motion controllers. And then let's imagine that Dreams featured a serious rendering engine that can export high-resolution, usable images, and then you can upload those to Dropbox or Google Drive. You know, what if you could compile your games as standalone applications? Or maybe Dreams would have been better as an iPad app. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to go chiseling away at a bloody touchscreen, but you can pair a controller to an iPad Pro. This is very different to playing something like Valheim, where you will sink 100 hours into building the perfect house with your friends, because Valheim is a game. Minecraft is a game. Dreams is much less of a game and much more of a powerhouse of tools. PlayStation, or any gaming console for that matter, is just a really weird foundation. I think Media Molecule have made something amazing. They've done such an outstanding job here. The idea is absolutely brilliant. I'm just not totally sold on the execution. At first, it does make sense marketing a game to gamers that empowers them to make their own games, right? But personally, I don't think gamers want to spend 100 hours making their own game necessarily. I think most of us just want a quick fix. We want something fun and addictive that we don't have to think too much about or get too invested in. Despite everything I've said, I'm still in love with Dreams. Because as somebody who makes music and videos, I do create mostly for the joy and the satisfaction. You know, I'm not majorly outcome oriented. Not as much as I should be, perhaps. So Dreams is hugely appealing to me. I could go and study a bunch of programming languages and computer software to remake Dungeon Keeper or Escape from Horrorland or make some kind of pogo game maybe. But, you know, here's Dreams. Here's my controller. Here's my Move controllers. And if I end up just making a demo or a proof of concept, well, that's content for my social media channels. So that might just be the spark I need to commit to something bigger. Dreams doesn't have to be about making a game. You can make any kind of digital artwork you want with this. As a creative outlet, I think Dreams is a gift. You are limited by nothing but your imagination. It's actually overwhelming when you start out and you go through all the tutorials. It's like waking up in the middle of space and you got to climb into a taxi. It's like, where the hell do I go?
As you can see, loosening sculptures and paintings means their flex become more obvious. If we lower this setting, the bridge will stay up for a shorter time. The keyframe records changes you make to objects and settings in the scene.
Look, if you just love being creative and you want to challenge yourself and surprise yourself making something really awesome, I think Dreams will keep you really happy and really busy for a long time.